Welcome back to A Slice of News, where I cut you off a slice of news. Despite the government shutdown now going into its third week, Democrats in Congress appear to continue to hold the line and remain firm in not backing down to the Republicans, pressuring them to give up their fight to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies and to roll back the Medicaid cuts, and to just let them reopen the government, just give them what they want. Unlike their Republican colleagues, Democrats in Congress have been returning to Washington and having to once again reject a Republican bill to reopen the government. Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia was quoted as saying, quote, "What the people are saying is you've got to stop the carnage, and you don't stop it by giving in." And that's absolutely right. So much of the discourse online from those on the right are just like, oh, the Democrats are wasting everyone's time and keeping the government shut down. If they would just pass what the Republicans give them, none of this would be happening. Hashtag radical left shutdown, hashtag Schumer shutdown. But at least for me, that massively undereducated rhetoric is exactly what is frustrating to see. It's very clear that they don't really understand what this government shutdown really is. In their mind, it's just the Democrats are being obstructionists and they're just trying to keep the government shut down because they want to give healthcare to illegals and they won't just let the government reopen and just stop holding the American people hostage and not just passing the Republican bill like they want. And I get it. These people are ignorant. They don't really know what's going on in the government. They don't pay attention normally. So all they know is what the propaganda and those on the right-wing media have told them it is, which is completely wrong-headed and inaccurate. But those people simply can't be bothered to actually do any sort of research or allow themselves to be corrected when people who actually have facts and know things are telling them, no, that's not how it is. As I've already gone on numerous times at this point, this government shutdown is not about giving health care to illegals because, as I've established and has been established, illegal immigrants do not qualify for the health care that is being stripped away with the ending of these Affordable Care Act subsidies, with the cuts to Medicaid. Yes, if the Republicans got what they wanted and the clean resolution was passed by Congressional Democrats, immigrants would lose health care. But legal immigrants, and more than them, U.S. citizens, and not just U.S. citizens, a lot of the times mostly red state American citizens, because those are the ones that use Affordable Care Act subsidies and Medicaid the most. But even though Democrats in Congress are fighting to keep their health care affordable, keeping their premiums from shooting up at the end of this year, all they see is, oh, Democrats are keeping the government shut down. If they would just stop fighting, let the Republicans have their bill passed, we could have an open government again. They are the problem. While the Democrats are trying to say, no, the Republicans are robbing you. They are making you suffer and convincing you it's anybody else's fault but theirs. These people on the right simply don't want to listen to the reality of the situation. They want to believe that the Democrats are the enemy no matter what, no matter if the facts and the reality back that up or not. Or in this case, say the exact opposite. And that's one of the big hurdles in political discourse right now. You have an entire group of people who simply do not want to be confronted with the truth if it conflicts with what they already believe. Until they can confront and accept that what their leaders are telling them isn't accurate and they actually have been misinformed, there can be no progress. You can't find agreement and middle ground with a group of people who only believe that their view is 100% right 100% of the time, and if you disagree, you are automatically wrong and nothing you say can be believed. And in a lot of ways, that's kind of the problem within Congress right now. Those on the Republican side will not be moved. They have no interest in find some sort of solution where the ACA can be preserved, where the Medicaid cuts maybe could be rolled back, because that would mean undoing part of their big, beautiful bill and the tax cuts they gave to the wealthies already. Ultimately, what Congressional Democrats are asking for is not that much, but even giving them that seems a bridge too far for Republicans. Any sort of bipartisan solution seems like a weakness to them. They can't possibly be seen giving in to the radical left demands of affordable health care. Those on the right keep saying that the Democrats need to stop fighting. If anything, the Republicans in Congress are the ones who need to stop fighting and just let the Affordable Care Act subsidies stay and roll back those cuts from Medicaid. So many on the right are saying, oh, it's just not worth this government shutdown. And I agree, but not because I think the Democrats need to stop fighting. It's because the Republicans need to stop stonewalling them and just stop fighting to make basic health care less affordable for all Americans. This is absolutely a Republican government shutdown, not just because they control all branches of government, but because we're still shut down because they just don't want the Democrats to have a win here. Well, that's not entirely correct. They also want to use this shutdown as a method of culling the federal workforce and massively laying off swaths of the federal workforce while they're all furloughed. From the president to the vice president to the speaker, they've all basically said Democrats need to let us open the government or you're going to see even more firings. They think they can threaten the Democrats into passing the Republican bill and opening the government again. But as Chuck Schumer correctly said, these firings are a mistaken attempt to sway Democrats to stop their fight for affordable health care and reopen the government. I think people on the right vastly underestimate the incredible amount of damage that will be done if the cuts remain and the Affordable Care Act subsidies are allowed to expire at the end of this year. And the maddening thing is this is healthcare that we're talking about. Yeah, maybe if you're particularly healthy, you can avoid going to the doctor for a while, but everybody needs healthcare, and they're not going to suddenly be able to pay $9,000 a month bills for their healthcare. So these right-leaning people who are on the side of the Congressional Republicans keeping the government shut down by not allowing the Affordable Care Act subsidies to continue and the Medicaid cuts to be rolled back, I don't know how they expect to afford their own health care. I know they absolutely can't afford what health care is going to start costing once all those things go away. And once their rural hospitals start shutting down and they realize that they simply cannot pay their medical bills, it'll be too late. They can't say, oops, I guess the Democrats were right. My only guess is maybe they buy into the Republican claim that, oh, if the Democrats just reopen the government, we'll negotiate health care with them after the government is reopened. But I think you have to be naive or straight up gullible to believe them at their word in this case. We've seen time and time again that when it comes to health care, Republicans do not have a plan. They don't have a solution or an alternative. They've got nothing. So to say, well, negotiate after the government is reopened, after you've already given up on fighting for the Medicaid cuts and the Affordable Care Act subsidies, isn't going to work. It's like saying, I'll figure out a treatment plan for your injury after you've been injured, when really the answer is, how about don't get injured in the first place? I think the reality is, to them, healthcare is something that you can either pay for or you don't get it. If you can't afford it, you're out of luck. If you're too poor to afford it, you should have thought of that before you decided to be poor. In a lot of ways, this shutdown situation really exemplifies the two ways political parties view the function of government. Democrats see the government as something that should help the people and support them, while Republicans see the function of the government as keeping the capitalist system running, and it's up to the people to function within it. And if they struggle or can't find a way, that is a personal failing. That monetary abundance and even health care should only go to those who deserve it. If you don't have it, you didn't deserve it. Cruelty isn't a bug in the system to them. It's a feature, an integral feature. A system where suffering is not only justified, but encouraged. How do you reason with folks like that? I don't know. Another thing that's been frustrating me to no end is these people on the right saying, oh, well, I don't see anything having changed. I guess the government is too big anyway. This shutdown proves how much waste there is in the federal government. Let them lay off all those federal workers. They're like someone standing on the beach during a tsunami, seeing the shoreline retreat and saying, well, I don't see a big wave. I don't know what everyone's being so alarmist about. Somehow not realizing that that calm is just what happens before the wave comes and slams them. And if congressional Democrats give up their fight, as they are telling them to do, that's exactly what they're going to get, slammed. And when they're sitting there dazed with medical bills so high they can't possibly afford to pay them, saying, I don't know how this happened. No amount of I told you so's are going to fix that. And admittedly, there have been times where I've thought, yeah, maybe let them see what their ignorance costs them, literally. Let them feel that pain that they've caused upon themselves. But I know it doesn't work that way. Partially because if the Affordable Care Act subsidies were allowed to expire, if the Medicaid cuts were allowed to stay, Republican voters would not be the only ones suffering. So to innocent victims to suffer purely to get those Republican voters to feel the pain is unnecessarily cruel and doesn't really do anything positive, especially because it wouldn't teach them anything. With their dying breath, they would say, oh, why did Joe Biden let this happen? Hashtag Schumer shutdown. Even when presented with the cold, hard reality of their poor decisions the consequences of their actions, they would still deny it. So in the end, the Democrats are doing the right thing by standing firm and not giving up the fight, because the outcome that would occur if they'd stopped would be far, far worse than even most of those Republican fans seem to realize. I really, really hope Speaker Johnson is wrong, and this is not going to turn into the longest government shutdown ever. I don't know what it's going to take to get the Republicans in Congress to stop this and just give Democrats the very little that they're asking for, and what kind of retaliatory nonsense the administration is going to pull to try to break the Democrats' will as the shutdown drags on. But I can only hope the end to this shutdown is sooner rather than later. And those saying they hope the shutdown continues into the new year do not get their wish. Alright, that'll be it for this episode of A Slice of News. I've been your host, Mr. Slice, and until next time, when I cut you off another slice of news.